When we see God, then we see things truly, right? We'll never understand sin in its vileness, in its horror, in its the awful truth for what it is. We'll never see the actual reality of sin unless we see it in the presence of the face of God. You'll just think it's something wrong, something you shouldn't do, something hurtful, something that violates a command. But you won't despise it. You won't loathe yourself for being engaged in it. Only in the presence of God is sin rightly understood and truly repented. And that's what's happened in Job's life. Job was a good man. He knew he was a good man, didn't he? And compared to other men, he was the best of them. God himself said there's none like him. And so before chapter 38, what do we find Job doing? He's protesting. He's vindicating himself. He is extolling his virtues. And then he has a fresh revelation of the reality of God. And all of that disappears, and Job throws it away. It's rubbish. So what if he's godlier than other men in the presence of God? He's a worm, right? He loathes himself. He despises himself and repents in dust and ashes. Jonathan Edwards, a great early American theologian and pastor, had such an experience. He was reading his Bible, he says, and he was reading 1 Timothy, the only God our King. I'm not going to get the verse exactly right, but the reality of the glory of the sovereignty of God, he said, just settled upon me. It saturated my being, that God was infinitely glorious and sovereign in all of his ways. And then he said this about himself. I've had a vastly greater sense of my own wickedness than ever I had before my conversion. My wickedness as I am in myself appeared to me to be perfectly ineffable, indescribable, swallowing up all thought and imagination like an infinite deluge or a mountain over my head. I know not how to express better what my sins appeared to be to me than to heap up infinite upon infinite and then multiply infinite by infinite. When's the last time you heard a contemporary author talk like that? Who talks like that? People who know God talk like that. People who know God in truth. Acknowledge that in my flesh there dwells no good thing. That apart from Jesus Christ, it's just rot all the way through. And that if there's anything good in us, it's less than what it ought to be. And it is purely the miracle of God's work in our life. Those who know God come to face themselves in a new way. And those who know God then also learn to trust him in a new way, in a deeper way. And that's what you find in Job. Job has come to realize that God is gloriously God. He's not like us. And that God has purposes that only he knows. The secret things belong to God. That is the glory of God to conceal his purposes. That God has purposes that only he knows and only he can accomplish. No one can thwart him. He does accomplish all of his purposes. And so though Job he still does not understand why this has happened to him, he doesn't need to. He has a deeper understanding of God, so that he's able to trust God. Even though these things have happened to him, no matter what happens, Job is standing now on the foundation of the reality of the character of God.